Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to our weekly show. This is the FanTeam Monster preview, and I'm joined again by my good mates Ben and Jace. How you doing, guys? Ben, how are you?
Top of the pops, G. Looking forward to another game week. Didn't finish in the money in game week 4, but ready to bounce back.
Nice, Jason. I'll come to you next. I think we're going to talk a little bit about game week 4, but before we do, let's just let you guys know what we're going to be previewing this week. Jason, I'm going to be showing your team, Ben's team, and my team. So we're going to say positives and negatives of all of them. These guys will probably go to town on mine. I'll do the same back. But we're also going to talk before that about a couple of hot topics. And the hot topics this week, guys, attacking teams, Liverpool and Man City. Let's have a look at some of their assets. So Mane, Torres, KDB, should these players be on our radar now? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we do, let's talk about last week, because I think I'm right in saying, Jason, you're Mr. Scoreboard. I think I'm right in saying I'm the only one that cashed out last week, right?
You are indeed. And, when you were asking Ben how he was doing, I was going to say, I'm not doing good because I got fire in my belly because I don't like that both of you are ahead of me at the moment in terms of our fan team leaderboard. So this week, it's personal. Game week 5 is where things are going to turn around. And I'm really excited for this because I've looked at your teams, you've looked at my team, and I'm well confident looking at this. I think you two have made some fatal errors.
Love that. Okay, well, we'll soon find out. So, guys, the rules for the Monster, if you've not played it, check it out on the website. If you're watching in the UK and pounds is your currency, it's £10, 8p to play. There's a prize pool of 42 grand, paying out loads and loads of places. I ranked at 566 last week, I think I was, and I still got like 20 quid profit. Really happy with that. You're only picking 11 players, and you get £105 million to spend. So you get a little bit more budget, and the prices are different than what you perhaps expect from the season-long games. The prices are based on that player's form and that player's fixture. So, for example, this week, Reece James is 8.2 million, Mane is 14.4, Vardy is 8.5. Different prices to what you might expect. But first, let's look at our hot topics. Ben, you love a differential. Mane, he's now amongst the goals. He was rested in the Champions League. Could Mane, for the season-long games, sure, we go Salah. But Mane is 14.4, Salah is 15.2. Could Mane be worth a punt over Salah for 1 week only?
Oh, do you know what? Am I being swayed by this Palace upturn in form and the suggestion that maybe Patrick Vieira's finally have this team in transition and playing the style of football that he likes? He'll be coming into this game with a lot of confidence on the back of a 2-2 draw with West Ham, followed it up with a 3-0 victory over London rivals Tottenham. Look comfortable. You have Conor Gallagher in great form. You're going to have Ed Ward, who arguably will start after his 2 goals from the bench. And I'm not expecting the cakewalk that maybe everybody else is at Anfield. On top of that, you're talking about high-end premium pricing at 14.4 million. And, for me, that's just a little bit too rich.
Yeah. Jace, what do you reckon? Liverpool attack, Salah versus Mane, Salah versus Mane versus Jota. If you're picking 1-on-1 only for 1 week, do you play safe with Salah? Obviously, you're paying a little bit more. You get the penalty appeal. But Mane's had the rest, and I think that could be quite big.
I think for me, with the Salah situation, is he's got the pens. He takes the shots in the box, and the other thing is as well. I think we saw this last season with Mane. He was getting lots of shots in the box. He was getting high XG, but Salah was the one putting them away, and so I think that Salah is the better prospect. I do agree to an extent as well that Patrick Vieira seems to turn the corner a bit. I don't think it's going to be an absolute shellacking. I think that Liverpool will win. I think that Salah will be in there. I don't know if Mane will. I don't know how many goals Liverpool will score, but I don't think it's going to be like a 5-0 drubbing or anything. The data is there with Mane, 19 shots in the box, 3.65 XG, 4.02 XGI since the start of the season, which is higher than Salah's, but
more than anyone for shots overall, I think.
Yeah. In terms of it, he has the best data for XG, XGI, all that kind of good stuff. But I just trust in Salah more. He's been doing it every game basically. Even did it against your boys Chelsea. Whereas Mane, it's taken him this time to score the goal, and I think it's going to be more difficult at Crystal Palace. So just trust in Salah.
Yeah, and if we put Jota in the conversation just briefly, remember, guys, in FanTeam, you do get the extra point if you play 90. I don't think we're going to see 90 from Jota very often. Origi played really well against AC Milan. Could he get minutes against Palace off the bench? Probably. But there we go. I think Crystal Palace will score in that football match. I've been fairly impressed, like Ben, with them under Vieira. I think that can actually leave loads of space for Liverpool to score a few as well, though. So I think we could see goals in that game. I fancy Liverpool, 3-1 Liverpool or something like that. But yeah, so that's Liverpool attack. It's the best attack in the league if we look at the underlying numbers in terms of shots and XG, alongside Man City, the other best team in the league. That for some reason, when we play fancy season-long games or even some of these weekly monsters, we're not that attracted to City assets just because we don't know who's going to play. But Ben, you're Mr. Starting 11. What do you reckon? Torres looks fairly safe now. He keeps coming off early, but he's started 6 in 6. He's the only out-and-out number 9. KDB didn't play false 9 in the Champions League. Even when Foden came on, he played in a midfield 3. It's Jesus is playing out wide when he comes on or plays. It's Sterling or Torres for that number 9 spot. And Sterling's getting 20 minutes and Torres is getting 70.
I think the fact that it came off midweek is hopefully a fairly good indication that Torres will be kept in starting this weekend. As a short-term punt, I think he's a great option. Medium to long-term, I do have my reservations. Of course, there are going to be opportunities when Raheem Sterling comes to the fore, has that little bit of form, maybe gets that goal from the bench. And I say maybe Pep changing that starting 11 around. But, last weekend we've seen an unchanged City team for the first time ever in his tenure for 3 consecutive Premier League matches. Can he make it 4? Well, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, interesting that Jesus was rested last night, Jace. We saw Grealish has played 6 in 6. He came off early, but Mahrez got the 90. I think we could see a front 3 of Grealish, Torres, and Jesus. Does that make Jesus perhaps a tempter, or were you steering clear of Man City attack altogether?
Oh, no, I think that I agree with you, actually, Gianni. I've seen you kind of on Twitter as well say that people are kind of put off by the Man City assets. But Torres, I think he's looking like a must-own in the season-long game, but also in terms of weekly monsters as well. Going into this game week, Man City are heads above anybody else in terms of their dominance. So I think in terms of their likelihood to win, it's sky high. In terms of teams to score 2.5 goals or more, they're sky high. And so Torres is going to be the benefactor of that. I think that, like you said, he is the number 9 for the team now. Jesus has been shifted onto the wing. The fact that he's in the centre, he does make kind of deep runs as kind of almost like a more false 9 role. But, he's basically the striker of the best creative team in the league at the moment. What's not to love? I think people are sleeping on him just a little bit and too worried about the Pep roulette. Whereas Pep, hopefully he'll keep to his word, but has said those who play good are staying.
Yeah, he's currently picking on form. That's really, really apparent. And remember, City play Wycombe Wanderers on Tuesday night. If key guys need a rest, that's when they come out. That's my take. Guys, just to remind you of the scoring in this game, it's the same as the season-long fan team. Or the Champions League games. The fan team scoring is very, very similar to FPL. Many of you watching this will already know. Don't want to teach you how to suck eggs, but there's no bonus points, but you are rewarded for things like shots. You're rewarded for things like playing 90 as a midfielder or forward. You get an extra point there, but very, very similar to FPL. You want the guys that are playing for teams that are winning. You want the forwards that are shooting loads and playing 90, as well as all the other stuff you would usually expect. I think now is time to look at our teams. This is the exciting bit, the team reveals. Ben, I'll come to you first. Do you want to talk us through your 11? And then Jason and I will give one thing we like and one thing we don't like about your team.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously going to be a hell of a lot of likes towards this team looking at it. But I've went with a 3-4-3, and we know that FanTeam in this particular game does favour that more offensive setup and output. So I've went with the 3 at the back. Sanchez in goal, 6.8 million. On paper, you would have thought maybe this is a tricky encounter against the Leicester side, but they haven't really hit the ground running this season. They've been very disappointing. Whereas Brighton, maybe is that time for those to, I suppose, fulfill their ambitions in those underlying numbers that we've seen and hinted about for so long. And of course, Leicester involved in the Champions League on Thursday night. It's going to be a quick turnaround. So I fancy Brighton to keep a shutout. In actual fact, I think it'll be a really good game, and I expect maybe a couple of goals from the home side this weekend. You know, when you're looking at that FanTeam price points, I always look to target one or two fixtures with fixtures which are fairly tight, where you may see a little bit of value. And with Brighton, I've got that. I just actually missed out on Neil Maupay. He was involved from the beginning, but I switched that round. Some late thinking in there, but I'll touch upon my forward line soon. And in defence, Alexander-Arnold, what really can I say? The numbers talk for himself in terms of expected points. I think he's ranked 3rd this game week. We're talking about a player that creates a hell of a lot of chances, big chances, and he's got a great XA. I mean, he's in that Liverpool team. We've touched upon it against Palace. It's going to be tough. I don't necessarily expect Liverpool to keep a clean sheet this weekend. That would be a bonus, but I would expect Trent to certainly contribute going forward. Alongside him, Ben White, again, a player at 7.3 million against a pretty blunt Burnley attack. I think 3 goals in their first 4 games. And Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes just haven't quite found that form that we know they can deliver in previous seasons. Of course, Sean Dyche has Maxwell Cornet, who could potentially come off the bench, but he isn't ready for a start. So it's 7.3 in Arsenal. If they can replicate anything like the defensive form that they showed in the second half of last season, then there's a lot of value in there, and hopefully they can build upon that victory over Norwich City. And finally, United, as in Manchester United. I'm not a big fan of Luke Shaw, so I totally disregard him and took him out of the equation. I went for Varane. Varane is my little bit of a maverick pick. Now, again, on paper, looks to be a tricky fixture, heading to the London Stadium. But West Ham are playing in Europe on Thursday evening in Zagreb. So not only are we going to have a quick turnaround, but we're going to see the Hammers travelling through the night, early hours of Friday morning. It's not going to be ideal preparation. And of course, they're missing their main talisman, Mikel Antonio. Yeah. So that can only mean good thing for United. Look, fire away, guys, if there's anything in defence where you feel anything particularly looks good, or indeed, maybe that you're not so keen on.
I've been swayed on Ben White. I've got him in all my season-long games, and I've not got him on Monster. And I haven't looked at his price, but I'm guessing he's sort of mid-level. He looks nailed for a clean sheet. I think Arsenal might start to turn a corner. They dominated against Norwich, as you'd expect them to. Burnley never offer much going forward, so I like that pick.
What I would say is a negative point for me is Varane. I'm just not sold on Manchester United at the back at the moment. They've let in a few sloppy goals.
Have they kept a clean sheet, Jace?
Yeah, they did against Wolves, wasn't it?
So, and Wolves ran riot in that game.
Yeah, so that they did very lucky to keep that clean sheet. But in terms of other games, I'm just not all that convinced on them. This is a Man United team with some of the best defenders in the world at the moment. Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Harry Maguire, and yet they've only kept 1 clean sheet. In terms of XG conceded, they're kind of about 10th, which isn't great. 4.16 XG conceded, so basically 1 every game. And I think, at his price point, Varane, I'd be looking elsewhere, either saving money or just, going off of him, because he doesn't have much of a goal threat as maybe, I think, somebody like Harry Maguire. If you were going for the Man United defence, I'd go for Luke Shaw, because he's got more of an attacking threat. It's just a bit of a worry for me. But I'm sure you factored that in, though, Ben, because you're thinking, no, Antonio, the team will be tired. They're not going to actually test Man United that much.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of people will be targeting the likes of Shaw and Maguire, which is, again, music to my ears, which is why I sort of veered towards Varane with regards to that pick. Always looking for that differential. I would expect his ownership levels to be far less than those 2 players. But moving ahead into midfield, I went for Mason Mount. It was a massive shock to see how much Tuchel actually rotated his team ahead of the Champions League last weekend. And that 3-0 scoreline against Villa probably flattered the Blues a little bit, who were all right, done a good job, but Romelu Lukaku was the main man there. However, after that Champions League game, we have 5 full days recovery. So in terms of any fatigue-related issues or anything like that, I would expect Thomas Tuchel to go pretty strong with that perception is his strongest 11, and to see maybe more heavy rotation in the Champions League. So it is Mason Mount for me at 10.2 million. He is maybe on that high price side, what you consider maybe in what could be quite a tight derby, but I'm just not sold on Tottenham. Even though they had those 3 straight wins at the start of the season, done really well, the underlying data never really supported that, and it always suggested that they were at risk of falling down, and Crystal Palace really exposed them, to be honest, for what they were. Yes, they had injuries. Yes, they've got suspensions and players who were in quarantine. Those injury issues and other problems may not necessarily be sorted this weekend, and there's also massive question marks still with regards to Heung-min Son going forward. So ultimately the pressure's going to be on that Tottenham team, and if they concede early, I can see Chelsea getting a hatful there. Buendia, Arsenal, we talked about targeting teams. Everton's in great form, and I can't really praise Rafa more highly for the start that he had under a lot of pressure. And of course, Everton without DCL didn't really seem to hinder them too much on Monday night. But I suggested before that scoreline against Chelsea maybe flattered them a little bit. I think there's more to come here from this Aston Villa team. There's a lot more flexibility in that starting 11 now under Dean Smith, now that Jack Grealish is gone. We've seen Danny Ings and Ollie Watkins for the first time in a 2. I expected that to be in a 4-4-2, but he went with a 5-3-2, and again, that may be more reflective of the threat that Chelsea posed. I'm expecting a 4-4-2 potentially here, and I think Villa will go for the throat. I think they really look to kickstart their season from this point. So I really do like Buendia, and him along with Emi Martinez will want to show a little bit of faith in the manager and push those issues with regards to quarantine and the reasons behind them going for that international break behind them. And like I say, just show a little bit of faith in the manager, and hopefully they come back from Croatia. There aren't any issues, and he's straight back in the 11. Now a couple of oddballs here, certainly with Kenny McLean.
McLean is definitely what I would call in this game, and even Odegaard. You look at them and go, wow, okay, that I guess you've gone because they're cheap, and you've just got that feeling that the team's going to do well.
Norwich need a win, need a result, and against a Watford team who do not perform well away at Vicarage Road. If you're not getting a result here, then as Daniel thought, he's going to be looking and thinking, where else can I possibly get a result? So they've got to go out. And the last 2 games, McLean has been quite unfortunate. He's been close. I think he had a goal disallowed, maybe one off the post. So he is he's a bit of a curveball that I've thrown in there, and that's purely from the prospect that I can't really see Pukki scoring, where the goal's coming from. We've seen heavy rotation last weekend, so there may be an issue with regards to who the Canaries will actually start with. But we have that safety net in place, and hopefully one of those lower price midfielders would come in if McLean misses out. And Odegaard, look, I don't really know where to start with this one. I'm not confident on a lot of those Arsenal players, but I'm just hoping that last weekend's result will give them the confidence to kick on. We need to see more from the players. They need to stand up and be counted, and hopefully maybe this is an opportunity for Odegaard to go out against a team that isn't really going to threaten Arsenal too much. So maybe that they can let those creative juices flow and hopefully go out and do a job against there. The only slight worry would be how Arsenal always seem to maybe fold under the physicalities of those teams who like to get in their face. And we know any Sean Dyche team with the likes of Westwood and Brownhill and Tarkowski and May and Long, you're going to have a game on your hands. It's whether Arsenal are going to stand up and be counted in this game.
Yeah, fair. Well, I like the fact it's punty for anything else. I look at the monster winners and I always go, I never saw those players coming. And to be fair, when you look at Ben's midfield, you would say I never saw that coming. So that's fair enough. Let's have a look at your forward line then, because we don't need to talk about Ronaldo really, and we've spoken about Jesus, but Danny Ings is one that I'm a bit surprised at, because Everton are no pushovers. Ollie Watkins looked brilliant last time out, but Ings didn't. Why Ings?
I just think he's one of the most clinical strikers in the Premier League, and doesn't really have to play very well at all to get his goal. And look, Dean Smith will be targeting this match. This is the one where they need 3 points. A result against Everton is a real eye-opener for the rest of the league. And I'm hoping that, while the result wasn't a very fair reflection, maybe the performance was, and a slight turn. Players back, they've got Bertrand Traore, Leon Bailey, Emi Buendia, all of these players who could potentially come in who were missing last time out. I think the supply line to both Watkins and Ings is immense, and he gets spot kick duties.
It'll be interesting to see if he does go 4-4-2, because 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, they looked good against Chelsea. And you look at the fullbacks or wing backs as they were, Matt Cash and Target, Matty Cash and it's Matty Target, they're both Matt. They look like they can both play fullback and wing back. Matty Cash used to be a winger for Nottingham Forest back in the day. These guys can bomb on, and I think they could provide really good crosses. So it'll be interesting to see that two-man attack. I'm delighted that we're not seeing Watkins have put out on the left wing that we all thought he might do, as he played a lot there for Brentford. But a front two, the fixtures are tough at the moment. Moving forward, I think Villa are definitely a team to keep an eye on. Jace, do you like the Ings punt? Would you have gone Watkins?
Definitely not. I don't like Villa at all this season.
They were good against Chelsea, though. I know they lost 3-0, but they were really good.
Yeah, but they lost 3-0.
They still lost 3-0.
I mean, this is the thing so far this season. I just wanted to quickly say as well, with the McLean pick, I would go with Sarr, because he's done something this season.
2 template.
He's got higher predicted points. And yeah, he's actually cheaper than McLean as well. So for me, it's a no-brainer. But my big question is, first of all, double Aston Villa attack when they've been so poor this season. And the second thing is Danny Ings is your captain. I mean, this is way too... obviously you're outside the box.
Absolutely massive.
You're differential Dinnery, and I respect it so much. But just looking at the way that Aston Villa played in the first 3 games, they were so poor against teams that they were supposed to dominate and destroy and whatnot, and they've not really clicked together, and they don't have really good underlying data as well. They did a little bit better against Chelsea. They did threaten at some points, but realistically, that they're bottom half, or sometimes even in the bottom few of the league table for a lot of underlying data. Very poor shots in the box, chances created, XG. For me, it's a team that have had opportunities against really poor teams and haven't done well. Why would they do well against an Everton team? I would say Everton have mistakes in them. They probably won't keep a clean sheet, but I don't see this being like a really high-scoring game where an Ings captaincy could be from him getting 2 or 3 goals, whereas you might with Ronaldo, Lukaku, or Torres, somebody like that.
You see a lower ceiling. I get that. Everton, though, when you do speak about defences that might have mistakes in, any team that has Jordan Pickford in goal, yeah. Any team that has the likes of Holgate, I think Godfrey, I can remember a few errors. You look at that Everton back line and think, yeah, there is a howler in there. So it'll be an interesting one to monitor. I think Aston Villa will come good. I just don't know if they're ready to yet. And I want to see what they're going to look like with the likes of Buendia in the team consistently, but Bailey as well. Like, he comes with such pedigree. Chelsea was linked with him for a very long time. And, he's now gone down to sort of, he's not considered by the tier 1 clubs. He's going to tier 2 teams like Villa, but I'm intrigued there. Let's move on to my team. I'll just give you the headlines. So I've gone double Chelsea defence, guys. I've gone Mendy in goal because he's the only safe bet, and he saves absolutely everything. And then the back line, you can never guarantee. Azpilicueta and Rudiger should be nailed 9 games out of 10, but at some point they're going to need a rest. But Reece James, because he missed out the last one from suspension, I think he's now to start. 8.2 is actually quite affordable for a wing back that has heat maps like he has. Tottenham offered nothing going forward. I think Chelsea keep a clean sheet. I've gone Castagna because he's so cheap. And again, attacking returns potential there. Brighton I'm not blown away by Brighton attack. Tierney's probably the best of the Arsenal assets. And like Ben, I think Arsenal could get something against Burnley. I've also gone up top, you'll notice, in Aubameyang. I've gone double Liverpool midfield, and it's the two big ones. A lot of my budget has been spent on Mane and Salah. I think the fact Palace will attack and have a go could really mean Liverpool score a fair few. I do think Palace score, so I've gone Wilfried Zaha. He's 5.4 million, Wilfried Zaha. And then Greenwood's fairly expensive, but he had the rest. United have to bounce back. West Ham will be tired from their European Thursday night game, of which, by the way, they have made a lot of changes to the squad. The likes of Lanzini getting starts, the centre-backs have changed. It's Diop and Zuma. So Greenwood I like. And then up top, I've gone for Lukaku. Yes, we know why I've gone there. But I've gone for two names that we haven't really spoken about this season in our fantasy games. And they're ones that in years gone by, they'd be nailed for all our teams and all our monsters. Vardy, Aubameyang, blast from the past. Good price points. 8.5, 9.8. I just fancy them for their differentialness. What do you reckon, Jace?
I mean...
I'm not winning this week, am I? I'm not winning. I can feel it.
What I'm going to say is... I have to start off with something positive, don't I? Or I can say something positive. I like the back line, apart from Leicester. I totally agree with you with Mendy and James. In terms of it, I've gone with a very similar back line. And Tierney as well. I think that's a great shout. I like the maverickness of Salah versus Mane, but as we kind of discussed a little bit earlier, Crystal Palace, I think, could do quite well. But yeah, I'm trying to find the positives there.
I think I'm going to take the armband off Liverpool, because it does seem a little bit too many eggs in one basket if it's Mane, Salah and captaincy.
Yeah.
I'm set on Mane and Salah, but I think I might go someone like a Lukaku captain.
Yeah. Well, I'll say the bad points then.
Hit me.
I just don't like the Vardy Aubameyang kind of situation. I really, really don't.
They're going to come good.
But that's kind of like gambler's fallacy, isn't it? You know, that they will eventually turn good, won't they? But there's nothing really there with Leicester so far this season that kind of says, right, they're going to turn good. And they were really bad towards the end of last season as well. Vardy himself turned into a chance creator, an assist machine. And I think from game week 14, he had just 4 goals and 2 of them were from penalty spots. So
he was playing in a front 2 at the end of last season, though, because he had Iheanacho in the team. This season, he's back main man number 9 by himself. And he did score a goal against City that was a toe offside. Yeah. And they did hit the bar off a Vardy assist.
But it didn't count, though, did it? It's
not
a real goal. It's if buts and maybes if it did go in. So looking at like the underlying data of Leicester is really bad. Like looking at them, a lot of it is kind of bottom or near to bottom, you know, third worst for shots in the box in terms of XG. They're second from bottom. This is a team that really, they've had opportunities in games. You know, some of them have been easy games. Some of them have been hard games. Obviously, against Man City, it's really, really difficult. But this is a team that we're thinking, could they push for Champions League this year? And at the moment, they've got relegation threatened data. And I think it's a bit too soon with Aubameyang. For all their problems, I think Burnley will cause a lot of problems for Arsenal going forward. I just think it's a bit too early to put any trust in their attack as of yet. They lack confidence. We saw that the only reason they got a goal last weekend was an absolute goalmouth scramble where they just touched it over the line. And so for them, they're relatively nicely priced, but there's a reason for that because they're not very good. And I would put that money elsewhere in other assets, because you talked about yourself there about Man City, people are overlooking them, and you don't have any Man City assets in your team.
Can't believe the price of Man City assets this week, because they're playing at home against Southampton. You've got to spend 13, 14 million to get their good assets. But yeah, I completely get your point, Jace. I've gone with a little bit of a Ben approach, where Ben mentioned earlier, you can pick a game that's a bit of a 50-50 game, and you back one team in that game. So I've got double Leicester in a game that I think they will win, even though it's a 50-50. And I've gone double Arsenal in a game I think they win, even though I think that's a 50-50 game. So I guess it's risky, but it's high risk, high reward without spending a lot of money. Yeah. What do you reckon, Ben?
I like this team. This is right up my street.
I thought so. I was inspired by Ben, I must admit, when I picked this team.
I mean, the two sort of observations that I'll make, and I absolutely love the Wilfried Zaha pick, by the way, at that price point.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. And I may even look to shoehorn him in my team at that price point, because I think it's an absolute steal. Because I do think Palace will get a goal at Anfield. And the other thing, my concern is just you've spent nearly 30 million there on the two Liverpool guys, and you talked about, look at the price of those City players.
Yeah.
Do you we've talked about how we expect Palace to score. Liverpool maybe won't get the rush of goals that we all. So, but given who you've selected, you still choose to go Liverpool over a decent Palace team as opposed to a City over a average Saints outfit, where we can see somebody like Southampton. City have scored at least 5 goals in their first 3 games this season, both in the Champions League and in the Premier League. So for me, it would be, well, why not take a little bit of a punt on a City player as opposed to double dipping with Liverpool?
Yeah, it's the 90 minutes nature of the City attack, and it's the spread of points, I guess. I look at the City attack and go, yeah, they score more goals than everyone else, but the spread of goal scorers is so big. Liverpool's spread of goal scorers is 3 blokes. So it's a tough one, but I might be swayed on a KDB or a Torres. I think KDB could start and then be rested against Wickham, but yeah, I think I'll probably stick and just change the armband. I do think at the moment with armband on Salah, it's too many eggs in one basket. But if I change the armband away from that fixture, maybe I like it. Jace, let's have a look at your team. Talk us through it. Give us the top lines.
Well, just one last question to both of you. Why waxing lyrical about Zaha when it's all about Conor Gallagher? I mean, he's the guy at Crystal Palace at the moment. Better data, set pieces. Why is he not in the team? And he's cheaper than Zaha by 0.4.
I don't think he'll get the space though at Anfield. He's been finding nice pockets in the middle of the pitch, in the sort of areas of the pitch where Firmino and Van Dijk will occupy. Zaha out wide, exploiting Trent. And we know teams can target Trent. We saw it in the Champions League. AC Milan, both their goals down Trent's side. Zaha will have Trent on toast.
But he is on set pieces, which doesn't matter about position of the pitch. They're kind of just really good. It's kind of swings and roundabouts, I guess. We'll move on to my team then, but I think it's an interesting talking point with Gallagher. I've gone up with the Chelsea double up as well. I have Alonso in at the moment, but I think it could be James, and that's because Alonso did play in the Champions League. Chilwell could be back in that team. So he was more of a provisional placeholder, because I did this team actually yesterday before the Champions League games. And I really like Reece James. In terms of his data, just absolutely outstanding. I've gone Dunk and Tierney to make up the rest of my back line. Kind of talking about the Leicester situation, that's why I'm backing Brighton. And in terms of Tierney, I'm thinking I've actually got, I think, 1.4 million left in the bank. I've not spent all my money. So I thought, you know what? I'll splash out instead of Ben White. I'll go for Tierney. Give myself the luxury option and that potential for some sort of attacking outlet. Salah has to have the armband for me. I just think that it's a really good game week for him individually. I think it'll be a tough game, but he's highest for predicted points. He's got a lot of good underlying data behind him. Tossar, I think this one could be one that you two both dislike, but I just think that Brighton are the team, a bit like you with the 50-50. You've backed Leicester, Gianni. I'm backing Brighton, and I'm backing the main man of Brighton, Trossard. Sarr, Torres and Gray, I think, are really good fun options there. Sarr, obviously, Watford need to get a win. They need to turn things around. I think it's going to be a highly contested game, and we know how open Norwich play. But also, last season, Watford were 2-0 against Norwich. They beat them.
Both 1-0s, weren't they?
Both 1-0s, home and away. No goals conceded, 2 goals scored. This season, I think Sarr is the talisman. He's going to be the one either scoring or assisting. So I think it's in there. Torres, we've kind of covered. Gray, I think Everton are in such good form. And at his price point as well. Why not get him in against an Aston Villa team that I don't like? And then I've gone up top with the premium double. I've got Lukaku, I've got Ronaldo. Instead of who do I get in this week? I just said yes to both. And I think that they're absolutely excellent. And I was considering captaining Lukaku as well, because I just think Tottenham are going to get it wrecked at home. And I'll enjoy it even more if Lukaku does it as an Arsenal fan. So yeah, thoughts, Gianni, Ben, who wants to jump in first and demolish my hopes?
Shall I go for it, Ben? The Ronaldo, I guess I like, because Cavani isn't ready to start, is he? Still not training. So I think Ronaldo probably is nailed. Or could we see a curveball in? And could Ollie go, he needs a rest because he's 36 and it's 3 games in a week? So that's the only reason I was put off by Ronaldo, just a slight doubt that he might play Martial or Greenwood up top. I like Torres. I do think he'll start, and I know he's expensive, but I like that midfield pick, and I like the Sarr pick. I don't like the Gray pick. I think for someone that likes the underlying numbers, Jace, I know he's got plenty of points, but am I right in saying it's either 4 shots on goal or 4 shots on target? Regardless, 4 shots have led to 4 goals this season.
Yeah.
And I just look at that and think that's not sustainable. He is massively overperforming his XG. And then the Alonso one, at some point Chilwell gets a game.
Yeah.
Is it middle of next week or is it this weekend? I'd just go James because it's so much safer. Yeah. And the points difference, Alonso is a little bit more upside, but there's not much in it. But yeah, double Chelsea defence is inspired, mate. I think we keep a clean sheet, and the prices are good for Chelsea defenders.
Yeah, I was surprised at how cheap they are this game week. You know,
no Son.
With the fact that Chelsea looks so much more likely to win this in terms of the data as well. And yeah, it probably will be James. I mean, like I said, I've got money left in the bank, so I'll just, slap it on him and hope for that. With the Gray situation, just to answer that, I brought him in because he was really nicely priced, and I think with Dominic Calvert-Lewin there, we saw him playing through the centre at points. His underlying data isn't great. I think he's in such hot form, though, that you have to consider him. And the third thing is Everton's attacking data is really, really good. So the team are creating chances and giving him shots. So there is swings and roundabouts. But I do actually agree with you that he has very poor underlying data. And I expect it, unless he starts getting higher quality opportunities, he won't keep up this run for much longer. Ben, what are your criticisms, though?
I'm not buying this sort of loving, first and foremost. You talk about gambler's fallacy. We're talking about a player who, look, he's all fur and no knickers. For me, look, he flatters to deceive. He looks all right down the wing. What you're producing, you produced a goal that was took a heavy deflection ricochet on the opening game of the season in a Watford team, like I say, who don't perform well away from home. Yeah, they kept 2 clean sheets against the Canaries last season, but I just think they're just not very good. And we have seen Saw deliver in the past. I think his standout performance was Liverpool last time we're in the Premier League. But maybe are there question marks with regards to his level of consistency and his ability? Let's not forget he dropped down to the second tier, and they were talking about how Watford could hold on to this player for 30 or 40 or 50 million. He's still there. Yeah. He's still there this season. Why are there sort of question marks for players who was an undoubted talent in so many people, and also we're putting too much into maybe these fixture swings. I think we have to be cautious. We talked about Wolves and people jumping onto Jimenez and Traore around, but you're just looking at the fixtures and thinking, well, we're expecting things to happen. It doesn't work out like that in football. So for me, like I say, I'm not buying into the Saw. And also, I have slight reservations about doubling up on Chelsea. And I do like them. And I do like Tuchel. But we'll see rotation. And there's plenty that could happen in that back line. And yes, Tottenham were terrible. Harry Kane, I think for the first time in his Premier League career, played 90 minutes and didn't have a touch or a shot in the opposition box. But this is a London derby, and if you're going to bounce back, and if you want to answer those haters and prove a point, then these are the types of games that you could do it in. And yes, while we expect Chelsea to do really well, I just think it's a risk going with double Chelsea, given that with somebody the quality of Harry Kane, he can he can convert. You know, he can change
even
a gear.
without Son, Ben, because Spurs look so tired against Palace, and now that Thursday night away to Stade Rennes, so a trip to France, Chelsea will be a day fresher. And Kane starts against Rennes. We're recording this Thursday night just before kickoff. But would that not be a concern for you that he's just running to the ground already? It's September and he's already dead on his feet by the looks of it.
I mean, somebody of Harry Kane's quality and ilk can almost transcend fixtures, transcends teammates. He has the ability, when Harry Kane is on it, he's one of the best strikers in the world. And let's forget about that game last week. I mean, this will all be about Nuno and how his team, how he can inspire them, how he can maybe hope to have them bounce back, how they can go out and prove that those first three games, those first three victories, you know, weren't anomalies, that they deserve to be in and around the top of that table. I think it's a tough game for Chelsea. I really do. There's going to be a lot of home support there for Tottenham. And I'm not saying that I expect Chelsea to lose. I just think for me, it's a little bit of a risk going with double Chelsea defence.
I was going to reply to the Sarr situation. Again, it's a little bit like Gray. I think I'm tempted by the price point because they are looking good in terms of price. It facilitates the double up of premiums and Torres as well. But the thing with Sarr is Norwich, they're most defensively open on their right-hand side. So in terms of it, you look at it, they've got 53 chances, 53 chances conceded from the right-hand side of the pitch, but chances conceded from the left is 37. So they're much more open on that side of the pitch. I just think that he will get those chances in that type of game against a much worse defence that he's already used to. But it could be a little bit of gambler's fallacy as well, you know, kind of just believing in the outcome. But I think with Tottenham and Chelsea, I think the faith is well earned there. Chelsea are just so much better than Tottenham. Tottenham haven't been good, and I don't expect them to make a massive, you know, jump back as well. I agree more with Gianni than you, Ben, on this one.
Yeah.
Come on, the Chelsea double defence. We shall see. And London derbies, the home advantage could be key and Tottenham step up. But if Chelsea get that first goal, I wonder if we'll start to see a few Spurs fans sort of making that a very horrible atmosphere for Spurs to be playing in. I think they've already started to show signs that they've had enough with the whole Harry Kane situation, Nuno not playing very good football. It's going to be an interesting one. Let's monitor that. Guys, I hope you're all giving the Monster a go. If you've never played it, give it a go. I think you'll love the idea of having 105 million to spend on just 11 players. You'll love the new price points. It's a one weekend thing. So you enter your team by the Friday or Saturday morning. You've got, I think it's 8 fixtures. The Friday night game, and we should also mention the early kickoff on the Saturday, aren't part of the Monster. So it's just the 8 fixtures. By the end of the weekend, you know if you're in the money. So do give it a go. Do check us out on social media. Please do also comment on this video with anything, like any questions you have. We always read the comments and we will answer those questions. So ask us a question in the comments, like the video, and do make sure you subscribe to this channel because we're going to be doing this Monster preview every week. So we'll see you soon. Thank you to Ben. Thank you to Jace. And we'll see you soon.